It's that time of year again. We're closing in on the holiday season, and AAA developers are releasing their big games of the year to get that holiday sales boost, which of course means it's time for a new Call of Duty game. This year we're graced with the presence of Sledgehammer's new Call of Duty title, Call of Duty Vanguard. Unlike previous years, Vanguard has had a relatively smooth launch in comparison, being relatively bug-free and actually playable. This is something we weren't expecting from a COD game that's been caught in production hell and has only had about a year to be produced. But for a game made in little more than a year, Vanguard is an incredibly solid COD game, at least when it comes to multiplayer and the campaign, the latter being the focus of our discussion today. So without further ado, this is a critical review of Call of Duty Vanguard's campaign.
And the only time I feel anything is when I watch a German beg for his life.
There is no way out of here.
This year's installment of Call of Duty takes us back to a familiar setting to those who are older fans of the series, taking the franchise back to its early roots, set in World War II. We find ourselves following a small handful of top-tier operatives from a variety of forces from around the globe. This team consists of Sergeant Arthur Kingsley, a British paratrooper with a knack for leading people, Lieutenant Polina Petrova, a Russian sniper hell-bent on revenge after Axis forces killed her family during the siege of Stalingrad, Private Lucas Riggs, an Australian explosive specialist who has an issue with authority, Lieutenant First Class Wade Jackson, a hotshot pilot in the US Air Force who is charismatic, daring, and way too self-confident in his own skills, and Sergeant Richard Webb, a fellow British paratrooper who fought alongside Kingsley in Merville, a grounded and intelligent man, although very pessimistic. Together, these elite operatives come to form Task Force 1, otherwise known as the Vanguard. The story follows these operatives through their attempts to escape capture by the Axis forces and to kill SS officer Hermann Wenzel Freisinger. Alongside this, we see pivotal moments in their personal histories that lead to them joining Vanguard. I found each of these stories to be decently engaging and competently written at minimum. Despite being a very short campaign, overall, around 5-ish hours, the campaign was very enjoyable and one of the more engaging and better written stories that Sledgehammer have given us. And the only real letdown for me was that it wasn't longer. The level of which I connected with and enjoyed the presence of different members of the Vanguard varies. For example, straight out the gate, Polina Petrova became my favourite member of the Vanguard. Getting to see in a few short minutes the depth of the connection she holds with her family members who are one by one taken away from her, and then getting to watch her spiral into becoming a sniping machine of spite and revenge, was a really enthralling experience to be a part of. This was aided further by the absolutely cracking performance from one Laura Bailey, who absolutely smashed this role vocally and in motion capture. In contrast, Wade Jackson seemed extremely cliché to me. Oh, cocky pilot learns lesson in humility, even though the way he acts and presents himself doesn't particularly differ after the fact. I appreciate Sledgehammer's attempt at making Wade an engaging and enjoyable character, but I feel that he comes across too cocky in his first mission playing as him, and whilst it's toned down in later missions, it still doesn't really feel like he gains any further depth. The only moment that didn't make me feel this way was when he aided Lewis Howard through the barbed wire, who is soon then shot in the back of the head. Wade offers to take over his role to help the 93rd push on a Japanese entrenchment ahead of them, and after that he just goes back to sort of being the same guy, and it's kind of a letdown. The new operator abilities introduced into the campaign were a fun change of pace and an interesting addition which I personally felt was welcome. The separate and relevant abilities for each operator made playing each of them feel unique in their own right. Whilst I didn't feel that when commanding soldiers as Kingsley actually gave any in-game mechanical help in any way, it really built immersion for when playing missions as Kingsley and helped set him up as the squad leader of the Vanguard. Being able to order people around to like suppress enemy gunners or stack up on doors was very fun, even if it wasn't anything more than immersion building. Polina's passive ability to crouch walk at a much faster pace was both helpful for pacing of the level and the game, as slow crawling through areas can sometimes be tedious. On top of this, the increased speed offered the tactical ability to sneak around people faster and take them out faster. This really complemented the character that's built around Polina throughout the campaign, that she is this formidable hunter, sniper, and killer. The later ability to draw enemy snipers out of hiding using her brother as a target or by throwing something was a fun mechanic and change up of gameplay flow, Whilst not necessary, it kept the gameplay engaging, giving a wider variety of what you can do. Riggs' ability was one I wasn't particularly sold on when I originally read the on-screen pop-up, but very shortly after I was having a whale of a time coating entire battlefields with 10 explosives at a time. There is a part of me that feels there could have been a different ability he could have also had alongside this to make him stand out slightly more. This being said, the 2 missions as Riggs, where I was able to throw an entire arsenal of grenades in mere seconds, was a lot of fun. Wade's ability, for me, much like his character in general, was particularly lackluster. I understand that he's a cracked pilot with amazing reflexes, but I just don't think it justifies him being the World War II equivalent of John Wick for a few seconds every couple of minutes. It was also buggy for me on multiple occasions, locking onto enemies through non-penetrable cover, and being a pain to fine-tune to a different target. The only cool implementation of this was whilst breaching a door in the final mission. It goes into the bullet time ability of Wade and you get to shoot a couple of people. I even found this moment underwhelming, as in places like the Modern Warfare franchise, this is a staple of every few missions, but you actually get to aim yourself instead of it auto-locking on. With the auto-aim cranked to 11 here, it made this cool moment a lot less cool in hindsight. As a whole, Vanguard is very competent and an enjoyable experience, if not a little short. The majority of my issues, if you haven't been able to tell, mainly lie with how Wade as a character was written and executed mechanically. In the past, Call of Duty titles haven't been afraid to do some controversial things, for example, missions like No Russian. As the years have gone on, COD have really cooled off in that department, apart from Sledgehammer, who in their 27 release Call of Duty World War II showed graphic depictions of German concentration camps, and in Vanguard broke the general trend of COD games of not including swastikas and actual Nazi symbolism. As well as this, they weren't afraid to touch on the racism of not only the Nazi Party through interactions between Kingsley and Nazi officers, but also touching on systemic racism in the US in the 1940s, with the meeting of Wade Jackson and the 93rd, with some of the subtext of their conversations alluding to it. I was personally taken aback by how realistic Sledgehammer attempted to make their dialogue and world building, despite being a Call of Duty game, which mechanically and narratively don't tend to be fully grounded in reality outside of the Modern Warfare franchise, and even then it's a bit of a stretch. This is starkly contrasted at the end of the game during the final cutscene where Vanguard find Operation Phoenix files on a plane detailing Project Nova, Project Aether, and some others. This marks the campaign as both Black Ops canon because of Project Nova, this also inadvertently linking it to the Modern Warfare campaign also, as both mainline series are now canon with each other as of Black Ops Cold War, but also the inclusion of Project Aether implies that the entire campaign actually takes place in the Zombies universe. After all the world building and immersion of the campaign as a whole, implying at the final second that this may take place in the Zombies universe not only removes all the detail and realistic world building and depth for me, but also makes it feel as if the campaign was now just a big setup for the Zombies mode included in Vanguard, a mode that has not been well received by many, myself included. Overall, in the grand scheme of Call of Duty campaigns, it's a solid addition to the roster in my eyes and sits comfortably up there for me in my top 6 along with the original Modern Warfare trilogy, Black Ops 1 and Cold War. An overall really fun experience with good writing for the most part and cracking performances across the board from the core cast. Mechanically different and engaging and overall a fun campaign with a fun premise and fun characters. I'd give this a solid 8 out of 10. And that's it. That's my Call of Duty Vanguard campaign review. I've been Cameron, this has been Adamo Gaming, and have a lovely day.